Welcome to another video, guys. Today, I want to talk a little bit about something different. I like to change things up a little bit. So sometimes I'll talk about statues, other times I'll talk about Disney collectibles. So today, I wanted to change up the pace and talk about this prop replica. So I don't collect guns. I don't collect real guns, but I do like to collect certain very famous science fiction or movie memorabilia that are guns. So this is one of the first I like to talk about. I have a couple more later on if you guys find this interesting. So what is this? This is the blaster from the movie Blade Runner, which stars Harrison Ford. And the gun comes with a lot of history. It's a very popular gun among fans of the movie. And I don't want to get too much into how this thing came to be. Suffice it to say that the gun from the movie has a lot of people who love it very, very much. And they spent a lot of time, years, going into every single little piece of this gun to try to make it as movie accurate as possible. It's quite the odyssey. If you're interested in reading up on it, there's no exaggeration, hundreds if not thousands of pages devoted to how this came about. And it's an interesting read, but I don't want to get into that type of thing on this review or on this video. So what is this gun and what makes it special? It's put out by a Japanese company called Tomenosuke, and this is an assembled model. So this is supposed to be quite rare. They don't distribute directly in the United States. You have to buy it from various companies that work with Tomenosuke. I got this one from Cinemaket, okay? Now, they're only supposed to have made, I think, 100 of these at most, but it gets complicated. It's not like a very simple collectible where they'll say, we made 50, here's 50. We made 100, here we made a 500, they're numbered, blah, blah, blah. It's sort of fractured. So what I mean by that is they made a certain number of this piece fully assembled. It says here, assembled model, okay? Then, for a cheaper price, they sold a version of this gun in all its parts. There must be like 100 parts down to the smallest screw. And I think that there are enthusiasts out there who love building it, just like people love building models, they love building car models or whatnot. There's people who love doing this. And so that's one separation. And then finally, over the years, as more information was gathered, as the original prop replica was actually obtained, then this company, along with the Blade Runner fan community, began to notice small inaccuracies. They modified it, they changed it. And so various versions of this have come out. To the non-discerning fan like myself, who just wants as cool and as accurate a Blade Runner blaster as I can get, I may not be able to get all of the details, but to true Blade Runner blaster aficionados, they can see all the details, all the different things. And so whenever a better version comes along, then Tomenosuke redoes it, and then they resell it. This is supposed to be the latest and quote-unquote last version they're ever going to make. This is good enough for me. I bought it. I don't know if they made yet another one, maybe a year or two later, but this is the one I think that they made after a big revolution in accuracy when one of the props, I think, became more attainable or somebody obtained it. I think it was at Worldcon. And this was made after that. And I don't think a greater version or a more accurate version was done. So I think this is one of the last and the best versions of this. Now, for the celebration of the movie Blade Runner 2049, which was just released a year ago, they reissued another version. And in reality, when you look at those YouTube videos, the gun, at least to my eyes, is almost identical to this gun. So they use that opportunity to release a couple more. So in reality, this is a long way of saying I don't really know how many copies of this gun exist. Did they really make 100? Or did they make 400 or 500? If they changed the screw a little bit and they issued another 100, is that the same edition? Who's to say? But I think overall, if you're adding everything, I still think this is a pretty rare collectible. It's still only a couple hundred, I think, was made. And hopefully they won't make any more of these. So let's start by just looking at the gun itself. and it comes with its own display, which I will talk about briefly. So I'm going to take it off. So one of the really cool things about this gun is that number one, it's mixed media. It's really heavy, ridiculously heavy. It really feels like you have a legitimate big blaster in your hand. Again, I'm not a big fan of real guns, so I don't own real guns, but I think real guns are a lot lighter for them to be functional. This is heavy. It's got to be at least 5, 6, 7 pounds. It's a hefty weight. This part here is steel. It's metal. And then there's lights, there's plastic, this is an amber grip, there's metal here. So it's beautifully created mixed media. And it's Japanese engineering, Japanese precision in terms of all the parts and putting it together. And this is, of course, made for you. It's assembled for you by the Tomenosuke company. So number one, the weight, and then of course the look. It's as accurate a Blade Runner blaster as you can get. You can see there's 2 triggers, just like the movie. So let's take a look at some of the features to start with, okay? So the first feature is you have a little switch here. If you flick it on, you'll see the lights come on. You see the lights on both sides. You can see the light at the bottom, and then you can also see the light on the other side. Okay, the green light here unfortunately does not turn on. You have private custom built blasters where the green light indeed does come on, but for the official licensed Tomenosuke model, the green light does not come on. So again, you flick it on, you have these little lights. That's the only part that lights up. The battery can be changed below. So I'm gonna shut it off for now. You don't need to waste the batteries. You have this little knob that turns. Again, I won't go into the various details of why this is more accurate or not, but supposedly this is not the most accurate. There's another turnable screw, which is included in the kit, which you can substitute if you like. But I just kept this here. This was out of the box, okay? This part is metal. Apparently the top part is from a rifle receiver. Again, part of my ignorance in gun terminology, but the upper part actually I think comes from a rifle, and then the bottom one is basically a pistol. So they combined the two together, and a lot of science fiction movies did that. They took, well-known or very, very common gun parts, and they try to add that extra science fiction edge to it by combining it. And James Cameron did that as well to famous effect with his pulse rifle in Aliens, which I also have a version of. I'll review later. So the first thing you can do is you take this thing, you can open it up, and you can put it back up. You can see the inside of this. Okay, so it's nice. Okay, very, very nice and solid. And then on this side, this is actually a workable trigger. The first trigger it's just a dummy trigger. It pulls back, nothing happens. But this trigger, it actually is a working trigger. If you press it, it will actually revolve the bullets and the cartridges here. So I'll show you. It can be a little bit tight, so you have to, sometimes press with a little bit of force. But obviously, that mechanism actually works. And then finally, if you want to actually take the bullet out and you want to slide it out, you press this. And again, this is something that I just wanted to show because, I bought this collectible about a year, 2 years ago. It doesn't come with any instructions, right? Because again, it assumes that some of these people actually built these. There's no instructions, and you forget how this thing works. And so I had to go on YouTube myself to look at some other reviews, and they weren't very clear how this worked. They would just do something, and then all of a sudden they would slip this out. So at least for this review, for people who are in my shoes, let me show you exactly what you have to do to get this thing to come out. This thing here, you have to press forward. It helps if you move it down a little bit, and then you slowly press it out, and it comes out like that, okay? So this is the switch. You have to press it forward. Yeah, you have to press it forward in order for you to get this thing out. And then this revolves, and these are the bullets. They're made out of real metal. If you tilt it, this is what it looks like right here, okay? There you go. And you can load it individually each. Real metal looks really good, 1-to-1 size. So puts it in, and then it just fits perfectly, and then you can basically snap it back like this. There you go. If you don't press this forward, you're not gonna be able to move it, and you'll break it if you exert too much force. So that's pretty much all of the functions that this gun has. The lights, this thing here, the lock, back, forward, and then of course the bullet chamber over here. Now, you can't really display it, right? Obviously, it's very hard to display, and so they sold a separate stand for this thing, and I really like it because it's all clear. So it's very clear, and so if you put it on here like so, and you look at it from a little bit farther away, it really looks like the gun is floating in midair, and it's pretty stable. The cross part right here prevents it from falling over, and so I think it's really beautiful. Just sitting right here, you can actually see behind it. It looks like it's floating. So you have to buy this separately though. Okay? It only comes with the gun. So now that you have that, I'm gonna put the gun here, and then we'll take a look at the case. So it's pretty classy, nice box. We open it up. It gives you the pamphlet, gives a little bit of information there. Some very basic instructions. Okay, here is the case. We'll take the top off. And then this is where the gun goes, and this is where the bullets go. Nice, felt very soft, very secure. And it gives you some extra parts. This thing, not much just needs to be said about it. They made a little mistake with production, and this didn't come painted. It came like this, originally just steel. So they actually mailed to you the proper color painted, and you had to take it off and put it back on. So it's very classy, very nice of Tomenosuke to spend the extra money to make sure that this was done right. And then here you have the screw I talked about. This is the screw that you're supposed to put in place of the screw on this side here. Okay, so you can put that in if you like this more, if it's technically more accurate. These are all the little tools you need to take the gun apart right here. And then of course this is the bag that you put the gun in. And overall, there you have it. So the packaging is pretty classy. It's very, very nice. And this is, again, the Tomenosuke Blade Runner blaster. It's a beautiful prop, and it doesn't come cheap, I'll tell you that. Retail was over $1,000 for this mixed media piece. But as far as it goes, it does not get any better than this in terms of quality, in terms of rarity, in terms of accuracy. It's pretty much there. Are there some guys out there who hand make it for you? There are. And there are some obviously weathered aspects. There's some Blade Runner blaster fans who like it dirtier, more beat up, more true to the movie. This is sort of the pristine, beautiful version, as if you were a new Blade Runner and you got your first day on the job, they gave you this gun. So there are other versions that might match it. But in terms of just the pristine nature of it, how beautiful it is, how well made this is it. It doesn't get better than that. It's a beautiful prop, beautiful to touch, beautiful to feel. It's not something not something you look at. There's components you can play with. Overall, it's great. So this ends my video for this piece, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.